So some investigation now into the IPU compartment of the HCH2. My CAN bus analyzer connected to the IMA CAN lines, and basically I've been unplugging various units to see which messages drop off the IMA CAN bus. For instance, this connector here is the AC compressor driver CAN connector, and that's also on the IMA CAN line. And the BCM's obviously on the IMA CAN line, and the MCM behind here is on the IMA CAN line. If we do discover what's happening on the IMA CAN and can reverse engineer it, what we'll probably be looking at is the simplest way to access the signal is going to be this connector down here, which is outside the IPU compartment. And this is the main front to back connector, and it supplies power, and it's got the IMA CAN lines here and a ground. So if we were going to make any sort of device, this would probably be the ideal place to put it, easily accessible without having to go into the IPU. And this is where I'm going to make a sort of a temporary tap point, so I can connect here to monitor the IMA CAN line while I'm driving around. And also what you can do is also you can just unplug it. So for instance, if I want to disable the entire IMA and see what messages are still on the bus, I can just unplug this here. So I'm just going to have it so that I can monitor either side of the connector and then unplug it to see which messages drop off the CAN. So when you can, what we're trying to do is basically identify the MCM only messages on the bus, and then once we've got those messages identified, we can filter out all the other messages for the compressor and the BCM and all that other stuff, and just focus on the MCM messages once we've identified that module. So it's a question of elimination at this stage. Anyway, as I say, this is probably where any sort of device would go. It'd be very easy to tap into these wires here, just strip back a bit of the insulation, and away we go. As regards to the DC to DC converter, I have recorded some data from the interface between the BCM and the DC to DC converter. I have looked at the serial data and captured some of that. That's just standard 9600 board serial data. It's not CAN bus. However, the DC to DC converter has a mind of its own, and it obviously when the MCM and BCM and stuff are all disconnected, the DC-DC converter just keeps switching on and off depending on the RPM and input voltage. So it's probably going to have to be an internal hack for the DC to DC to make that work at voltages that are outside the normal operating system voltage, i.e. when you've got the pack disabled or turned off. So because I tried with the pack turned on and off, and just obviously disconnecting the BCM and MCM, etc., and it would still charge quite normally when it was in the sweet spot rev range, but as soon as it went up or down, it turned on or off. So it wasn't the BCM which was turning it on or off, which was something that we were postulating might be the case, and we may have been able to fake. But that's where we are at the moment, so still researching, and once I've got all this data I shall be looking at that while I'm away for the next couple of weeks.